this episode, District Attorney Andrea Harrington joins us to speak about women's leadership, change-making, and justice.
My name is Andrea Harrington. I am the Berkshire District Attorney. I promised my community that I would make prosecution decisions based on my values. And those values are to protect my community from dangerous people, but also to provide help and support to people who are struggling with mental illness and with substance use disorder. So every decision that we have made has gone back to that original promise. And we have been very bold in our advocacy, and we've been bold in the kinds of decisions that we make. But we have used COVID-19 as an opportunity to double down on our values as opposed to react from a place of fear. And I found it to be very empowering for me and my team. What I found with talking about equity and inclusion in the criminal justice system since I've been the district attorney is that, it's a mistake to go into that conversation as an educated white person thinking that I know what other people in my community care about or what they're concerned about. I think for me, it was very educational to go into some parts of our community that really have struggled with violence. And I was expecting that those people were going to be concerned about privacy and that they were going to be concerned about mass incarceration and over-policing. But really, their concerns were around public safety and wanting to be safe in their communities. So I think it's really important when we're having these conversations to recognize that we have to listen to the voices of the people that we're trying to serve and let go of our assumptions about what it is we think people want or people need during this time. Because I'm part of a movement for criminal justice reform, we really have been able to show up as reformers, even though our communities are facing really, really difficult and challenging times. So a way that I have been able to do that is around, our advocacy and how we talk about public safety and how we talk about incarceration in light of the public health challenges that we see. So for my community, once we realized the kind of challenges that we were going to face with COVID-19, our first messaging and our first message to our community was how we're here for them. Law enforcement is here for them. Prosecutors are here for them. The courts are still working. We're here to help protect people and to make people safe. And if you pick up the phone and call the police, they're going to come. They're going to be here for victims of domestic violence, victims of child abuse, victims of violent crime. I wanted to make sure that my community knew that we were still here. Then the second piece of our messaging was around people living in isolation who were not safe in their homes. And we brought a lot of light to that issue, and we launched a whole public awareness campaign to help people be aware of their neighbors so that we could make sure that people had access to the services that they needed. And then for us, a really important piece of that was how do you talk about and how do you look at incarceration when it's impossible to social distance in a prison or our local house of correction. And certainly, the sheriffs and the Department of Corrections are working very hard to keep people safe, but it's only so much that you can do when people are stacked on top of each other, and those kinds of facilities are just not made to do that. So we were very loud and very clear about the fact that prison is for people who are dangerous. And it doesn't serve our community and it doesn't serve public health to have other people behind bars ever who are not dangerous. And it's even more true during COVID-19. Justice is about serving our entire community. So for women in criminal justice now, I think our voices are really important because we are highlighting how important it is to put our resources and use the power of prosecution and the power of law enforcement to prosecute and bring to justice people who've committed violent crimes, people who have really victimized people in our community. But it's also possible to use the power of law enforcement and the power of prosecution to be a problem solver. And we can do all of those things, and we can protect our community and protect public safety. I think it's essential that instead of looking at the worst thing that you see in the national news or the media, that you really, really get in tune with what's happening in your own community, what's happening in your backyard, because that's the only way that you're going to be able to show up and have honest conversations with all the different stakeholders and people from different sides. You know, we all live here, we all work here, we all want a safe, healthy place for our children and our parents and for ourselves to enjoy. And we have a lot more in common than we don't have in common. So if you are willing to come to the table and to listen to other people and to take in all sides, then I think that is when we really start to make change, because we do it by building consensus. But at the same time, you know, you have to be bold and you have to stick to your values, and don't ever forget, you know, what it is that is motivating you to pursue justice. And you don't need to let that go, and don't dim your light, but I think that you can get a lot more done if you are open and engaging in honest conversation. I am part of a group of female district attorneys from across the country in a position that really has not had very much representation from women or from people of color. And I've been very, very lucky to be part of a community of leaders who are committed to using the power of the prosecutor to lift up our communities.